this is our one-play review of Diced Veggies. Now, we did play this once back when it was just in a prototype form, so I'm not counting that. But this is actually our first time getting our actual copy to the table with the fully fleshed out rules and everything. So, we are doing this for Nom Nom November because you should always eat your vegetables.
Yes.
So, in Diced Veggies, you create a block of dice by using this little
Tray.
little tray thing. You'll make a block of dice, and then you'll use one of the most fun components I've had in a game, where you use this little cleaver to chop off a piece of the block. The rule is, whatever you chop off, the pips on those dice must equal 10 or less. So you have to be careful with the value that you're trying to cut off. You can't leave like any stragglers, so once the block gets down so far, you can't like leave stuff where it's only connected at a corner, or leave something where it's just not touching anything or anything like that. You have to keep the block kind of together somewhat. You will then try to make a recipe, and you will have some recipe cards in front of you, and they'll have values of the types of ingredients that they want. So each color of the dice corresponds to a type of ingredient. So red ones are tomatoes, the brown ones are mushrooms, the green ones are peppers, yellow is carrots. So you're trying
purple onions.
Oh, purple onions. I knew I forgot something.
Yeah, I don't like those.
So you're trying to create these recipes. You will also have hype cards, which can modify the recipes or kind of play with some of the rules of how stuff works. If you're able to throw a hype card on there, you're going to do that. And you'll put those off to the side. You'll flip the recipe card upside down. And once a player has 6 completed recipes, all the other players do one more turn, and then you count up your score. I kind of like how this game broke down the steps. So it is cut, cook, card. So it kind of made it easy to remember. It's like, okay, I got to cut now, and then you got to cook.
If you can.
If you can. Cooking is always optional. And then you have to draw a card. You're going to draw a hype card, or you're going to draw a recipe card. The recipe cards, there's going to be 3 out that you can see, or you can always draw blind. At the end of your turn, though, you do have to worry about having too much stuff. If you either have more than 8 dice, or more than 2 of each category of card, you have to discard down to get even. So you can only have 2 hype cards in your hand, 2 recipe cards available, and 8 dice being collected before you've actually used anything.
Right.
When you're setting up the game, you use this little tray to shuffle it around. If there's ever a ingredient that's not in the block anymore, at the beginning of your turn, you can choose to restock. So when you restock, you take all of the already used dice and all the unused dice in the block, roll them up into the tray again, and kind of shuffle it around and try to make an even block. You're going to have a little bit of wonkiness because it's going to be less dice because people are going to have some stuff available to them. You also get a little token here, and this token can be used throughout the game to either change a die ingredient type, or you can use it to change the value of the die, which you might need to for the hype cards, because some of the hype cards you'd be like, oh, all the dice in this recipe must be even, or they must be odd, or they must be sequential, and stuff like that. So you can use that to help mitigate that. When a player restocks, you get these back. So it's good to use them. Don't worry about, oh, I'm going to save it, and I don't know when we go ahead and use it, because you're probably going to get it back most likely pretty soon. So I did write down a couple of things. One of my things I wrote was cleaver equals fun, because the cleaver is...
This is so cool.
It is a fun... it's almost a first player token as well, because that way you know whose turn it is. but you physically use the cleaver to cut off a portion of the block.
Slide it out. Yep.
Yeah, you'll slice and you'll slide it off. So that is actually a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
You have made a mess of that.
That's fine.
My only other note that I wrote down was that the limited cards add challenge.
Yeah.
Because since you can only have 2 recipe cards at the end of your turn, you can't be like, oh, I'm probably not going to make this recipe. I'm going to start hoarding cards, and you can't do that.
Right.
So you kind of have to like be careful with what you have, and only being able to have those 2 cards. You know, I had some like hype cards. I'm like, this one's kind of hard to do. Let me draw another hype card and hope that's better, so I can get rid of this one and see if that one's going to be better. I think it just added to the challenge of the game.
Yeah, made it a little more challenging.
Yes. What are your thoughts about this game?
It was cool. I enjoyed it. I also won.
You did also win. That seems to be a theme if you've watched these videos, but hey.
That's not necessarily true, because I lost the last one, so...
Yeah, the very first time we played it, though, I think they've modified the rules since we actually played the demo of it when they were first, before it was even published. I think they modified some of the stuff. Yeah. Which I think made the game that much better, and that it's a tighter game now.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yes.
We really like it.
And then, of course, this is a game that will make you hungry, which is why we're doing this for Nom Nom November. Mm-hmm. Because you're going to be looking at the recipe cards, you're like, oh, that looks really good. It's like, oh, you know, this chicken pot pie, oh man, that looks really good. Right. Or like, here's like a nice bowl of ramen and everything. And I guess I also should say, the more dice that are in a recipe, the more points that recipe is worth. Yeah. Because it's harder to get the more dice. And it's also hard to figure out with the block. It's like, oh, I need that onion, but that onion's in the middle of stuff. So you kind of like wedge away from it and hope somebody doesn't take it when it's available.
And then you gotta keep in mind that they can only add up to 10.
Yes.
Is the maximum that you can pull at a time. So that kind of limits, oh, I need 2 carrots, but there's a pepper in the way, and that pepper's a 6, and the 2 carrots are 4. It's like, oh,
I had said that high numbers in this game on the dice can be a detriment. Yeah. Because it's like, oh, I need both those peppers. They're both together. They're both 6s. Yep. So I can't pull them.
So maybe you can get 1 this turn and 1 the next turn, unless your opponent takes that pepper that.
Correct.
It's like, oh man. So.
One thing that's interesting, I don't know if you remember this from when we played it originally, but if you look at the dice, there are no 1s on any of the dice.
Yep.
So the dices have 2 2s. Then a 3, a 4, a 5, and a 6. Mm-hmm. So there's no 1s at all. So that kind of makes it, everything's going to be at least a 2. Yeah. In the rolling of everything. But I think that makes it also really interesting and kind of adds, you don't have to worry about all these like super low numbers where you can get like a massive chunk. But I really think that this is such a cute game. Yeah. This is very, very fun. This is from KTBG. KTBG. Yeah, I said that right.
Yes.
So like kids board games, kids tabletop board games. But we really like this one. I think this one's going to be in our rotation, especially for when family comes over that's not really super in the gaming. This might be a good one to break out. I was kind of glancing in the rules at the very end of the rule book. They're like, hey, if you're playing with smaller kids, you know, don't play with the hype cards. You know, you can just eliminate those and just play with the regular cards.
The recipes, yeah.
And the recipes, so that way there's no reading involved then. You don't have to worry about them having to read that.
Yeah, because all they got to do is match the colors. It's
yes.
like you need 2 green dice, you need 1 pink dice, you need 1 brown dice.
Yes, exactly. And then if you even want to make it even simpler, you can eliminate the rule of having to have them add up to 10. And you can just say you can take a maximum of 3 dice, and that's it.
Right.
So don't worry about the values, do that. I think that kind of makes it easier for little kids that quite haven't grasped adding or are not quite at a higher reading level. So this is definitely great for all ages.
Yeah. And it will help with their adding skills if you keep it to 10. It's like, okay, well, that's 5, and you can only get 5 more, but yeah.
Yeah.
Multiple ways you can do that.
And it will expose them to different kinds of foods. Like,
Yeah.
these are like world foods. Like, we have paella, jambalaya. What is this one? This one is pepperoncini picante, so picante sauce. Delicious.
There was gyros there.
Gyro.
Calzones are in there.
You made a mushroom boricas? Boricas? I'm probably butchering this. I mean, they look good. I would probably try those. Yeah. But you kind of get exposed to a world of food. So maybe a kid might be like, oh, I want to try that. Maybe. I don't know. I don't have kids. I don't know how they work.
Brother. That's a different video.
But anyways, this is going to be hitting our table again. So we definitely recommend that. So put down the cleaver. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe. All my links are down below. You will find me on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, which I just got this guy on. So we are on all of those. You'll find me, Cloak and Meeple, at all those places. And definitely check out Dice Veggies. And keep on watching. We'll have a couple more videos for Nom Nom November coming up soon.
Bye.